Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Coffee Break with Card, La Hora del Cafecito's new sister show. My name is Lourdes Quinones, and I would like to welcome you to the show. So come on in. Join us at the table and let us know if you are drinking a cup of coffee with us. We'd love to say hello to you. Coffee Break with Card is a program dedicated to all those in our community who are living with autism, to their family members, and all those who support them. All right, so join us. We have the pleasure today of interviewing Abby Perez, Director of Impact and Community Relations with the Early Learning Coalition in Hillsborough County. She's going to be talking to us about the VPK SIS program. What is it? And how do families and professionals can benefit from it? So join us. We have a lot to talk about. But before we get started, let's introduce to you your coffee break hostesses for today. As I mentioned, my name is Lourdes Quinones. I am a card consultant assigned to the early primary age group. And professionally, I am also a pediatric physical therapist as well as a special education teacher. And I'm joined by Ima Camposano. Buenos dias, Ima.
Buenos días, good morning.
And as you know, Ima Camposano is an excellent professional in the field of social work, as well as a card consultant assigned to the young adults group. And she's the mother of two, and she has a physical disability. So she brings an important perspective to the program. So welcome, Ima. And then we're also joined by Abby Perez, or the Early Learning Coalition Director of the Impact and Communication. So thank you, Abby, for joining us. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invite.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so excited to learn more about this program. Olivia McDonald and Jasmine Castellano could not join us this morning, but God willing, they'll be back on our following show on June the 2nd. All right. And before we get started, we will, as always, let's review the rules by which we want to adhere before we go on the air to make sure we have a safe environment for all of us. Remember to keep an open mind, maintain a positive attitude, and use respectful language. Okay. Now, today I'm multitasking because this is usually Jasmine's and or Olivia's expert work. So bear with me as I try to do both things. So as we move on, I'll try to say hello to those of you who are watching us. And if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and put them on the comments section. I'll try to, keep up with both what I'm doing over here with the program as well as with the comments. Okay. And if we can't do it right live, we'll do it after we go off the air. Okay. So thank you for doing that. All right, so let's just get started, and so that I can monitor that as we move on with the show. All right. So my first question, again, for those of you who are just joining us, in today's program, we are interviewing Abby Perez, the Director of Impact and Community Relations in the Early Learning Coalition of Hillsborough County, who's going to be talking to us about the VPK SIS program. She's going to tell us what it is and how do families and professionals access this program and how they can benefit from it. Okay, so join us. We have a lot to talk about. And my first question to you, Abby, then is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you, Anima, and the card group for inviting me to have this conversation with you all. I'm Abigail Perez, known in the community as Abby Perez. And I've been in this community for a little bit over 2 decades and serving in different roles as a parent, as a professional, as a case manager, as a manager of screenings in the community, and to ultimately now land at the Early Learning Coalition for the last 6+ years, and really diving into what's become my passion, early learning and preparing children for kindergarten. And without without forgetting the uniqueness of our children, whether they have physical or intellectual disabilities, because that's near and dear to me. My degree is I'm a graduate of USF with social as a social worker in psychology, and interdisciplinary degree, which I achieved as an adult, and has been able to really help me solidify my passion when it comes to early learning. So thank you for the invite.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, Abby. Can you please tell us what is VPK SIS?
Sure. So that is a program that exists in the state of Florida, and it's called Voluntary Pre-Kindergarten Specialized Instructional Services. This is an education program, is an added option for parents of all 4-year-olds in the state of Florida that have disabilities. And these are services that are outside of the classroom. These are services basically determined for your child based on their individual education plan, the IEP. With that, your child is eligible for VPK once they're 4 years old, and if they are turned 4 years old before the September 1st, they are eligible for the program of voluntary pre-kindergarten or voluntary pre-kindergarten SIS. For me to better explain, VPK offers 3 different programs. The 3 programs are VPK school year, VPK summer program, or VPK SIS, which is a specialized instructional services.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I like the way you broke it down into the 3 different programs. And I just want to let our audience know that I have gone ahead and shared both the link for, am I showing it? I'm not seeing it. Oh,
It's in the
I
chat.
know. It is in the chat. Oh, so hold on. So the first the link that I shared, it was the link for the Early Learning Coalition page for Hillsborough County, and that's only for the Hillsborough County. Is that? In the last show, you talked to us about different.
Mhm. And I could elaborate if you allow me, Lourdes. So the Early Learning Coalition serves Hillsborough County, but we are established by legislation, and there's 30 coalitions in the state of Florida. So this service is available to anyone that lives in Pasco, in Pinellas, and Hernando, and Sarasota, Miami, you name it. But it is per their coalition that serves that county. So for me, we serve the Hillsborough community, which is, for you to know, the second largest in the state funding wise. So we have a large number of children that we serve with between all of our programs. But when it comes to VPK SIS, is an area that we welcome bringing awareness of it, because these are funds that are sitting waiting to be used, and they're not being used. And I'm going to say it openly. You have extra resources through this program for your child based on your IEP. And you could use them at your discretion right before he enters kindergarten.
And this is the reason why we wanted to bring this show, bring you on to the show, because we wanted people to realize that these are monies. We get this comments all the time from our constituents, our parents, and they tell us that they're not able to find a VPK center perhaps for their child, because they're just not accessible in their area where they know how to care for their child with special needs. So this is a way of being able to access that. So my question to you is, how can families then of children with autism and or other disabilities, how can they apply to this program to access the funding for this program?
So based on the initial chat that Lourdes added, if you go to our website at the www.elchc.org, and on the chat, you'll go and look for the family tab, and you will be able to start applying for the services. And it's called a portal. The state has called it the family portal. And you'll link, and if you've never used the family portal before for voluntary pre-kindergarten, you'll have to create an account. Um, and this account includes an email address and a lot of the new stuff that we've been doing, especially since post-virus. Everything is online. So yes, you'll be applying online, uploading your documents. There's very minimal details that you need to add for your child's application. First of all, it's proof of their age. We just need to know how old he is, especially to verify what the rule is telling us to verify. And then your residence. You live in Hillsborough. We cannot serve someone that lives in Pinellas. Your residence is what determines the coalition that will be serving you. And then for VPK SIS, we do need a copy of your IEP to be uploaded into this account. And after you upload that application, there's a team at the other end that is reviewing these applications and validating that it's current IEP, validating the services that are listed there. They will engage with you because one of the processes that we've established is to start communicating with the family immediately to tell them we've received your application. Do you apply for VPK SIS? Yes. So let's and explain the process that you're going to be going into. And from there, after we've gone through the whole process, which is a little bit more detailed oriented, because we're going to serve your child specifically on the needs that are listed in the IEP, very specific to that, and understanding that there's a separate type of unique funding for it. So the funding would be, it does not exceed $3,000. So those therapies have to be coordinated and allocated under that funding based on the needs that you've expressed.
Thank you for being so clear with all that information. Also, what kind of services does it pay for? And can parents go to any of these providers to receive services?
So the parents get to choose their provider. And when I speak of provider, I use that word very lucidly, but I want to clarify. We have childcare providers that we are going to be sharing with you, who, if you're interested, based on the conversation that the question that Lourdes asked before, childcare providers that are not able to help. There is childcare providers in our community that help parents with children with special needs. That's some other area. Now, but for these the providers specifically to VPK SIS, they are approved by the state. And if the parent is working with somebody that has not been approved by the state, they could apply to become approved by the state, because we are only we're allowed to reimburse the provider that's validated by the state. Like they want to validate that they have their license, all their resources, vita of work and education. That's what the state is validating, and then the list is provided to you, and they will be added to the list if it's a new one. Sorry, and then you will be able to select that provider. Did I answer your question, Nima?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
You just said something very, very, very key, that, we get this, I'm the same way you right now. We have that little cough going on. Anyway, so I totally understand. So you said something, because we get this from parents, like, I can't find somebody, a daycare for my child. So I want to expand on that answer because you said there is providers. It might not be accessible depending on where people live, but how can parents then find out where the service providers who do have the knowledge to care for them? And this is another program. This is the VPK itself. But touching on that subject, since we did talk about it, can you tell real quickly how can parents access that information? Because you talked about the 3 programs that early learning serves.
So, and this is one area. We do have another larger program that we help, and that's something that Lourdes and I will address at another session. But our parents, any parent in Hillsborough County, it's an option that they have. We have a mandate by the state as well, and there's a national entity called Child Care Aware. Child Care Aware gives the state of Florida child care resource and referral. We are the lead organization that has all the child care providers in our county that have a license. We have access to their information. And at our website, you could complete a web form and you're going to say, I live in Valrico. You're going to put your zip codes. I would like centers in that area. Then you could say, oh, but I work in downtown. I would like centers in that area as well. The Early Learning Coalition has the capacity to tell you where to find a child care center for your day needs. Now, unique to the needs of your child, we do have as well providers that gives us all the details about their specialties. And we work closely to really validate what they're providing in their profile. So we do have a list of providers that work with children with unique abilities. And we do have a partnership with the school district as well when it comes to the preschool early education programs. We work hand in hand with them too. So the ELC has the opportunity to offer you an electronic list with childcare providers, and they're going to tell you whether they're voluntary pre-kindergarten, whether they accept the other program that we have is called school readiness. So that's another piece that I would welcome a further conversation for us to explain, because that's the largest program that we have. But anybody that checks off on their profile for us to do their listing, we will provide the parent the list, and they could call, and we give them the tips on what to ask, what to look for when they're identifying the center for care for their child.
Yeah, excellent. I'm glad we went through that. So I just want people to know that I have I did put in the chat the list of providers of specialized instruction service providers. These are the ones that we're here to talk about today. And it sounds like you're going to be a regular on our show because we have different programs to talk about. So this is wonderful. So for today, we're talking about the VPK SIS, which are the specialized instructional services. And this is the list of providers. Okay. So let's move on, since we're talking about the providers. That leads me to the next question, which is, is it my turn or is it yours, Iman? Because I'm multitasking.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how can providers apply to become providers, and just to describe that process for us.
Okay. Ideally, the providers, besides the ones that are on the list, they could call us. They call us directly, and we share the list because we have to, because we're on the Sunshine. And then we connect them to the state person in Tallahassee for them to upload all their documents validating their licensures, whether there's therapists, psychologists, ABA, you name it. The state is the one that's kind of giving them the seal of approval. So any provider or therapist that you're working with, that you could access the services through your IEP, ideally they could call us, or they could call the Division of Early Learning directly. get the process started to be added to the list as a certified provider for VPK SIS.
Okay. So does that include like equine therapy or music, art, dance, movement? Or can the parents suggest their own therapist for these therapies to be added to that list of providers?
That's a little bit more complicated. The equine therapy, music, art, and dance are services that it's this. I do know the state supports these, but when we look at the letters of the acronym Individual Education Plan, it's specific to education. And I'm under the Division of Education. I'm sorry, Division of Early Learning. And the Division of Early Learning is under the Department of Education. So that early learning piece, that's what we do through ELC's Division of Early Learning, Department of Education. Our focus is to prepare children as they enter into kindergarten. So equine therapy, the parent may be able to access these services through other fundings, other buckets of resources of dollars that the government has allocated, but not if it's not listed in the IEP. The VPK SIS program will not be covering equine therapy, music, and movement therapy. That will go under another bucket of dollars that the state has allocated. The VPK SIS program is specific to specialized instructional services. So therapy for occupational speech and language, behavioral, and honestly, as to get the kids ready into kindergarten.
Perfect. So you said that those would be like that's good to know. So thank you for specifying and dividing that. And I guess I'll be bringing you back on so we can talk about those extra, or at least picking your brain outside
Yes.
this conversation as to the other buckets, so I can follow that lead.
Mhm.
Anyway, so you talked about the therapist. So that you said occupational therapist. Who else?
We may have physical therapists, clinical social workers, psychologists, licensed psychologists, speech and language pathologists. So there's a process that each of the licensed therapists will be using an ABA provider or individual can access our services, but they need to be a listed provider with the state, and they need to have the need listed in the individual education plan. Does that make sense? The services that VPK SIS is going to cover have to be listed as one of the goals in the VPK SIS plan.
Oh, perfect. All right. So, Ema?
No, I have no more questions.
You can take the next one. Okay. So is there anything else you want to share with our audience?
Sure. I want to make sure that I clarify that there is different avenues of accessing services in our community for children with unique needs. So we are one for VPK specialized instructional services, but there's this Gardner Scholarship. The Gardner Scholarship may be able to provide a lot more resources, but the best way that I could explain it, we're under the Division of Early Learning, under Department of Education. The Gardner Scholarship is ran by entities around the county, different organizations, and that's more for services in private schools, through charter schools that have unique specialties for children. So there's a complete different process, application that you would have to go through to access those services. But that is a bucket of dollars separate from the one that comes from the Department of Education and how it trickles down into what is VPK SIS. So, but besides that, I would like to add that any child that accesses the Gardner Scholarship will not be able to access VPK. There's like, that'll be considered a double dipping, and the state views it that way. So I want to make that clear, because I've had scenarios that I had to review applications, and it was Gardner and VPK SIS. And when we started the process, uh, or is it? It's the same. Mary Thompson to it's Gardner Scholarship is the main. No, wait, yes, they're different. Gardner Scholarship and Step Up have different roles. So if you communicate with Step Up, Gardner, they ask about the Gardner Scholarship. Okay, because I have met. It's been a while that I met with the entity that oversaw the Step Up. So those are just different. Organizations that are supporting the needs of families outside of the school district established as a system of education.
What a wonderful point to clarify, because I know that was going to be a question that a lot of people were going to make regarding that. And so I understand that the double dipping type of thing, because it does make sense if they're getting monies to pay for private lessons, such as, movement and dance, ABA type of things, something, schools and whatever, accessing monies again to pay for all what they're already getting monies for wouldn't be appropriate, right? So I get it. So thank you for making that very clear. I just want people to know that I have I'm going to be posting a list real quick of exactly who the VPK SIS programs, and also you mentioned the forms. So I think you were going to make some forms for us. So at least I'll make a list of the forms you mentioned that would be provided, who would apply under which forms, so that can at least be guided as to what forms they can access, whether it's a parent or a provider. So they can go ahead again. And the reason for providers, for example, I'm a physical therapist, and I remember when I had my clinic, I had to go through submitting my therapist to apply for it, and even myself. But it's the same thing as applying to become a provider to a private insurance, right? Any of your private insurance, you would apply to become a provider. So it's the same thing. We have to apply first to become a provider. So we may submit billing, right? Because there is, I'm assuming, just like when I was providing therapies, there is a component where the parent needs to sign that the service is received or something like that. There's
Correct. And to add, Lourdes, that's part of the process. When we start, we internally we have a team that's working with the parent to help them navigate that. What is expected, not just from the provider, from the parent, because ultimately, who gets that reimbursement is the provider that gives the services. The eligibility comes through the child, but the services, for example, you as a physical therapist, you're providing the service, so the reimbursement goes to you, but the parent is validating that you're giving the services. And the state has some a little complex system when it comes to VPK SIS. I have to say, it's like forms and forms and forms, but they're following a process that has worked for them. I hope with new technology they realize, oh, this could be simplified. But as of right now, I do know that our team works diligently as like following who, where, how, and when all things are expected, because they should be if there's a calendar that's going to be set up with the VPK SIS to establish the therapies and the cost of each therapy, for how do you use those funds? Did that help?
Yes, it does. And so, yeah, exactly. There's got to be accountability, right? It's not
Yes.
just about no accountability. So, yeah. So thank you for clarifying that. And so for those of you who are watching this, whether you're watching it now while we're live or later on, if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. If not, I see that we may have one right here. So let me see if I can find it on the other side. I'm multitasking today. But just be sure. Oh, you did answer that one, the Gardner versus Step Up. Okay.
Yes.
So all right. So if you have a question or comment that you want to add, even after we get out of off the air, we'll be sure to answer you on the comment section. And if it's something we cannot answer ourselves, we'll be sure to forward the question to Abby so she can answer your questions. I think we have established pretty much a lot of the bottom line of what the VPK SIS is and who is it for, and how parents can access it, as well as how providers can access it. Okay. So be sure to leave us your questions and your comments. And as always, if we create a future program based on your comments or questions, we'll be sure to give you credit on the air for giving us the idea. Okay. But we're almost at the end of the show, but I didn't want to leave before saying thank you so much to Abby Perez for bringing us this information. Would love to have you again on the show. We have so many programs to talk about, and so thank you for agreeing to come back and for being here today.
No problem. Thank you for the invite, and I look forward to further conversation because we would just want to bring awareness and access to the services that we have, and early learning is key
Yes.
to how our kids enter kindergarten, third grade. Got all this. There's research behind it to say why early learning is so important. So
Exactly. And with that, I'd also like to remind our audience that on our YouTube channel, which is the same as our Facebook name, Card-USF. That's our YouTube channel name. You can find playlists where we have Card, the coffee break with Card, previous episodes, as well as La Hora del Cafecito. We have 100 episodes of La Hora del Cafecito already on that playlist. We've been on the air for 3 years, over 3 years now. So for La Hora del Cafecito. So we certainly have plenty of episodes. So if you're bilingual, you'll find plenty of topics, and we talk about early intervention. We push that so much in all the different programs in the area. So again, thank you to Abby for being here today and for helping us bring this message of how important early learning and early intervention is. So thank you.
the
And
pleasure
again,
is all mine.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to remind our audience that we continue to come on the air every other week. So our next time around will be June 2nd. So we hope to see you here. And but before we leave, also I'm going to be posting a link to a survey. It's about 6 questions. It's very easy to just answer. Just grade us, give us a grade on how important this type of topic is and how we did. This is how we can justify the time that it takes us to put together this type of programming and to be here on the air with you. So we thank you ahead of time. Even if you've done it before, every time we come on the air, we need you to complete one of those surveys. It's how, again, we can justify all this work that we do. Okay, so thank you for doing that. But before we go, don't remember to really please give us a like, share this video on your page, and with all those you know who can benefit from that. And also remember to meet us here every other Friday at around 10:45-ish, because we do come from the other show in Spanish, La Hora del Cafecito, which is at 10 o'clock. So be sure to be here around 10:45-ish so we can share a cup of coffee with you as we spill the beans on important topics related to autism. All right. But until then, we want to wish you good vibes.
Good vibes and hot coffee.
There you go.
Thank you, Abby. Have a
Bye.
good
Thank you.
Memorial Day weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Next weekend. Yeah. Hold on.